It's good to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Millsy. Back to Talk Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew version 1.0 deck list of the Commander and Fritters on a budget on my quest to brew the magic world. You know the motto, baby. It's ABB, always be brewing, and that's what we're back to do today. The deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. So also, I'd really appreciate if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider checking out those links in the description. I'd appreciate it. But today, we're continuing through Final Fantasy content, and we're looking at the backup commander for your Stolas Precon in Grahatia Scion Reborn. A 3-mana Esper 2/3 Cat Warrior with lifelink. It says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, we can pay X life, where X is that spell's mana value. If we do, we make a 1/1 hero and put X counters on it, and we do this only once each turn. It's a really interesting ability, mainly because this gives us the ability to make more hero tokens. Of course, a lot of our heroes that we're able to make are on the job select mechanic, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But what I kind of like is we get to make a kind of heroes matter type deck. Player non-creature spells make these heroes, make them bigger, and then we get to care about them being tokens. We get to care about them having counters on them, and do a lot of things. Graha has lifelink, but I think one of the best ways to take advantage of this ability is going to be to gain life, have a lot of ways to gain life, so that we don't particularly care what it is the amount of life we need to pay to get this hero at the right time. Since we can only do it once per turn, we want to maximize when we do it each turn, getting the biggest hero we can. Now, you will note that Graha's ability is limited to once per turn, so if we play a spell during everyone's turn, we can actually do this and get a hero token. So if we can hold up interaction and removal and things like that, we will be able to take advantage of that as well. But I want to say a quick thank you to the channel members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in seeing all of our videos just a teeny bit early for just $1 a month, consider checking it out down below. Well, all right. Like I said, the big mechanic that we're caring about here is the job select mechanic. When this equipment enters, you get to create a 1/1 hero and attach it to it. And there's a lot of interesting job select equipment. Astrologian's Planisphere is probably one of my favorites. With the equipped creature is a wizard and has whenever you cast a non-creature spell, whenever you draw your third card each turn, put a counter on it. So this is a fun equipment that comes in with the hero, and if you want to move it, you can just grow a key creature. Black Mage's Rod and Blue Mage's Cane both come in, making that hero token. Black Mage's Rod basically gives it the ability that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Blue Mage's Cane says whenever this creature attacks, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery from a defending player's graveyard. If you do copy it, you can play the copy by paying 3 mana rather than its mana cost. This is a huge option depending on what your opponents have, because you may be able to get a nice and big hero token for just for 3 mana and the life needed. Dancer's Chakrams is one that I really like. Although our commander does already have lifelink, it does give a buff to the hero it's attached to and our commander, giving them both lifelink, allowing us to gain some life in the process. Machinist's Arsenal says that the equipped creature gets +2/+2 for each artifact you control, which is nice because, again, we're going to have a few of these job select equipment laying around. And since we're in Esper, right, we're going to have mana rocks and things like that laying around, which means this arsenal should ideally be a nice key equipment to make a creature even bigger. Ninja's Blades has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then pitch a card, and that player loses life equal to the discarded card's mana value. A really fun ability, kind of bringing something that kind of reminds me of something like Yuriko to it, and is going to be nice for our heroes, depending how big they are. Reaper Sights at the beginning of our end step. We put a counter on it for each for each player who lost life during our turn. And the equipped creature just gets bigger and bigger for each counter on the scythe. Sage's Newliths just let us untap an attacking creature. So again, you'll see these equipments. There's some really rare, the rare ones that are really nice. Some of the counter ones are kind of okay. But the point here in the thought process of these job select equipment is, let's say I cast Reaper Scythe, I get a hero that's attached to it, I pay 3 life and get a 4/4 hero, right? And now for 3 mana and 3 life, I've gotten 2 creatures in the equipment out of it. Champions and Beyond makes a ton of sense here. It may not have the job select mechanic, but it makes a bunch of those hero tokens when it comes in. When you attack with 4 more creatures, you get to scry 2 and then draw. And when you attack with 8 or more creatures, everybody gets all those creatures get +4/+4 till the turn, just being a really nice buff to help our heroes as they attack. Because at the end of the day, that's the goal, right? Go wide and attack with our heroes. Patchwork Banner gives a flat buff and allows us to tap from enemy color. And then Renewed Solidarity is a really fun one. Creatures we control of the chosen type get +1/+over. Obviously, we're going to pick hero. The beginning of our end step, for each token we control of the chosen type that entered this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. So you're just going to get that many more heroes. They won't come in with counters on them, but you'll basically just get a bunch more hero tokens in that we can then take advantage of. Well, okay, so our deck cares about tokens. How are we going to pay that off? Well, there's a lot of ways. You have things like Elspeth that can double the amount of tokens that are made. Note with Graha's ability. Let's say I pay a 3-mana spell and I pay 3 life. With Elspeth Stormslayer out, I will get 2 tokens with 3 counters on them, which is a really fun interaction with abilities like Elspeth. And if you really want to bump up the budget of this deck, you'll really want to think about adding things like Mondrak and Anointed Procession and some of these other token doublers I just didn't add due to the budget. Marty's Calgar says whenever one or more tokens come in under our control, we draw cards. A good way to start digging through our deck, right? Drawing more things to play. Teysa Karlov giving all of our tokens Vigilance and Lifelink is great. Again, to have the life needed to pay for Graha's ability. Caretaker's Talent, drawing us a card each turn whenever a token's made. If we can pair this up with playing things on our opponent's turns with Graha, right, we can draw more cards that way. Culminating in level 3 where we can give all of our tokens a buff. Tangible Virtue just gives all of our creatures a flat buff, tokens a flat buff and Vigilance. And then on Wings of Gold is going to give them a buff in flying, which is really nice, just getting them into the air and making them harder for our opponents to deal with and block. We can pay off the counters being on our creatures. I think what makes the most sense is something like Abzan, Battle Priest, or Envoy of the Ancestors to give all of our creatures with counters on them lifelink. Again, just amassing that life back so we can pay it for Graha's second ability. But you also have things like Abzan Falconer that can give them flying. Again, just making them harder to deal with, easier to get in for damage, and really turn all these tokens into more damage on our opponents, right? Helping us end the game. But I think we also just want to care about gaining life so we can pay it. And there's a lot of ways we can look into this. Ajani's +1 will gain life equal to the number of creatures we control plus the number of planeswalkers we control. I mean, hopefully we can gain enough each turn to offset the life we're going to pay. Sorin, Solemn Visitor on its +1. Gives all of our creatures +1/+1 lifelink until our next turn, meaning that whether they attack or block, they can gain us life back. Can also give us another token if need be. I also really like the War of the Spark Sword. During our turn, our creatures and planeswalkers have lifelink, meaning all of our creatures are just going to be able to attack and really gain us life back while dealing their damage. And then Sorin has the option to ping a damage or get a creature back from our graveyard, which is a really nice ability to add on to just flat lifelink during our turn. Guide of Souls is an example of creatures that we can have that are going to gain us life whenever creatures come in, i.e., right, these hero tokens. Guide of Souls can get us an energy as well whenever a creature comes in, and then whenever we attack, we can pay 3 energy to get a creature in the air. This is really nice for things like Graha and some of our big hero tokens, as we can just get them in the air with their counters on them and make them even more threats. For the Emperor, can just give all of our creatures Vigilance and Lifelink till end of turn. Just take a big attack, right? Gain a ton of life and have them back to block. Caduceus seems like a great threat for either a huge hero token or Graha, giving it +5/+5 and indestructible as long as we have 30 or more life. The creature has lifelink, so obviously Graha already has lifelink, so wouldn't get it from Caduceus, but this could give lifelink to one of our heroes. And then prevent all damage that would be dealt to it. Again, if we have 30 or more life is huge. Basically giving it indestructible, stopping it from being damaged. Allowing that thing to just attack for free, gain a ton of life, hopefully, and keep our game plan afloat. The Wind Crystal going to double the amount of life we would gain. Every time we'd gain life, it's huge. Again, the difference between 2 and 4 life may not seem like a lot, but when you have 8 2/2s that are attacking, that's now 8 4/4s attacking. That's twice the amount of life, and it'll really add up. Same thing with like Whip of Erebos, giving all of our creatures lifelink. Leyline of Hope, if we would gain life, we gain that much +1 life instead. And as soon as we have 7 or more life than our starting life total, all of our creatures get +2/+2. Again, a way to I care about life gain, but also just care about buffing our creatures, making them even better for us. But I've said it before on the shaded end, no deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0 shot at Graha, and I think there's a lot there. I think we have the life gain there. I think we have a lot of the pieces there. The last thing I want to see in testing is just, are we always going to have enough resources to make our game plan happen? Do we want things like Ghostly Prison or Propaganda or Crawl Space to stop our opponents from attacking us? Do we want to go, if we want to go towards Bracket 4, we could start adding things like Ristic Study or Smothering Tithe to start getting more value from our opponents while still being able to get hero tokens. I love the idea of something like a Zorius Charm just to give all of our creatures lifelink till end of turn at the right time if we need to, gaining a ton of life back. We could also really pay off life gain more if we want to, since we have lots of ways to do it, and there's all of it around. But truthfully, in testing, I think I just want to see, are we consistent enough? Does our game plan work? Do we need more job select? Do we need more token benefits? Do we need more board-wide, board-wide buffs, right, for our creatures? Do we need more evasion? There's so many things, I think, that are question marks for us that I think testing is going to show us. But let's do what we do best on the channel and get into our playtest. Remember, the goal of playtests on our channel is not find magical Christmas land. It's not to show off all our best plays, but it's just to get in some game scenarios, determine what hands we would keep, and how we set up, our board going forward. This one, we've got a 2-lander with a talisman. So we've got 3 mana, which is enough for Graha. We see Path for some removal. We see Shark Typhoon, a nice big enchantment that if we can get up to 6, we'll start making a Sharks whenever we cast spells. Again, just more tokens. And then there's Envoy to give the lifelink. So not bad. We also have the Ajani, so this isn't looking too bad. We're probably about 1 mana off from getting Ajani down and really being good to go, but I like that we have enough for at least Graha. All right, well, there we see Glacial Fortress, which is good. That's the 4th mana we would need for that. Now, here we draw Font of Agonies, a card that I was going to talk about in the presentation. I just didn't, but it's a card I really like for this deck. So whenever we pay life, we put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies. We can pay 2 and remove 4 blood counters from it to just destroy creatures. So this is going to turn Graha, right, paying all that life into hopeful removal for us. So here on turn 3, we can get Graha down. We have 1 mana. We can hold up that Path to Exile. Maybe on an opponent's turn, we can go blue, black. Well, let's see, black, blue, white. So we would have a white up. Maybe we can get a hero on an opponent's turn. It's our choice what we want to do. I mean, it makes sense if somebody has something really big early. Otherwise, I'd say let's save it. There's no point in using the removal if we don't have to. So now we're at 5 mana. We're a little bit off with Shark Typhoon. Remember, we only get Graha's benefit on non-creature spells. So if we're going to cast a creature, right, we don't get the benefit from it. So I like Intangible Virtue, but that's that would just be a 3/3 hero. If I cast a Johnny, that's a 5/5 hero, and I could gain a couple life this turn, right? A Johnny could also just make me that Pride Mate if I want to as well, to have another creature to block, for a Johnny. So there's a couple options there, but I kind of like it being a Johnny, get the 4 on there. That allows me to get 4 counters on the font. 1 mana left, white, not enough for Path. We would have either a blue or black up. So it's our choice here. We can either gain 2, or gain 3, sorry, with a Johnny, which would pay back the 4 life that we got back, plus Graha attacking. Or we could -2, make the Pride Mate token, and then focus on using a Johnny to gain life next turn and just getting more. I kind of like the Pride Mate this turn, just to have another thing sitting around. If Graha connects and attacks, the Pride Mate grows, right? So let's just say for the purposes of this that it did, and it's probably a toss-up here on turn 4. Otherwise, now we're just, we've got Font of Agonies online. We can start getting it, right, to become a threat for our opponents. All right, so here, I like the Caretaker's Talent. The only downside is I really want the Caretaker's Talent. I really want the Caretaker's Talent to be the token, right? But I guess worst case scenario, I could just play Caretaker's Talent, play the Intangible Virtue, just get a hero that has 2 counters on it, right, and draw a card. It's not that big of a deal. It's not ideal, but it is an option. There's Cathar's Crusade, start really spreading out counters on creatures we control. Johnny, again, I don't mind ticking down for... sorry, that would put, another 2 on Font of Agonies. I don't mind ticking down a Johnny to make another soldier, or another cat, but truthfully, I think I'd just rather gain the life. This gains me 5, puts a counter on... the Pride Mate, and at least just gets us in good shape. Now, these guys that were in last turn have Vigilance because of the Virtue. Maybe we gain life, with Graha attacking, but maybe not. I still think we're in good shape, and this is going to help us with future draw on a future turn, and then we still have Font online. Here we see Chromatic Lantern, a good way to fix our colors and have another threat. We do have enough for Cathar's Crusade. The only downside is I'm going to make the hero off of Cathar's Crusade before it comes in, so I won't be able to see another creature coming in. But if I were to do the Lantern, make the hero off the Lantern, then I could, have the Ancestors come in and give these all lifelink, which doesn't seem like a bad idea to me, right? So the other thing that this could do for us is allow us to draw off the Caretaker's Talent and see if it makes a difference. And I don't think it does. I think we just play the Envoy. Now all of our creatures with counters on them have lifelinks. Now all these guys have lifelink, which means that they all are going to attack. The Pride Mate probably just grows. But what I think I'd probably do is, knowing that they all have lifelink, I think I'm probably content to -2 a Johnny. I think we're darn close to his ultimate, but I think I'd probably just make the Pride Mate token, because now, right, the 4 of these would have lifelink, right? Meaning, each of these goes up 4 counters, right? Because we're gaining life. And again, now we have more than enough life to pay for Graha's things. If somebody wipes the board right now, we're now at enough mana for the Shark Typhoon to start rebuilding. Johnny can just keep gaining us life. And I think next turn we'd be at the total to just 0 a Johnny to get rid of him and all of our opponent's things. And I think we're just way up on value. Well, let's get into playtest number 2 here. Keep it at 4-lander with Counterspell for a little bit of interaction. Soaring and Caretaker's Talent. Remember, of course, if we counterspell on somebody else's turn with Graha, right, we can get a hero, which I think is what the goal is. So play the Soul Ring. I guess we ideally could have done this turn 1, right, to hold up the Soul Ring. Or hold up the Counterspell. I mean, I could play Caretaker's Talent. It just feels odd because I guess it's a little bit out of place with Graha, but I think Graha's probably this turn anyway, right? So next turn, right? My thought is probably here now. Okay, well, there's Y'shtola, which might actually change my game plan. I was going to say, now I probably just jam the Cathar's Crusade out. I'm not going to get the Cathar trigger from making this 6/6 hero, but I will draw, which is what my thought process was. Right, because now we're in good shape, right? We're gonna keep getting good resources, right? And then, like I said, I can pay a white to make a copy of that hero with Caretaker's Talent, but just remember that it's only going to come in as a 1/1, but it would get a counter because of Cathar's Crusade, right? So it may not be a terrible option now that I think about it, because this is basically just going to put a counter on all 3 of them. Now these are getting to be a little bit better attackers, right? And then as we come to this turn, I like Patchwork. I'm kind of thinking like Patchwork plus Sorin. Now they all have lifelink, right? Now they're really getting good value. We could also go Y'shtola plus Patchwork. This would have the drain and the gain, right? And then the Patchwork would make me that hero with 3 counters on it. Remember, that is a creature coming in, which means a counter on everybody. And I think that makes a ton of sense. Now the heroes are getting a buff. That draws me a card off the Caretaker's Talent. And now, again, we just attack, right? They all have lifelink now. Wait, what? No, that was with the Sorin. So they don't have lifelink, but they just have a nice buff. One of them is going to end up triggering Y'shtola, right, to draw us a card at the end of our turn. Baleful's a great example of a card that we could cast cheaply but get a bigger hero from, right? We get to play 1 in a black for it instead of 4 if we have an opponent draw. And again, I think we're just in good shape. The more heroes we have come down, the bigger our board is. As somebody wipes the board, the really nice part is all we need to do is get the process back going, bring Graha back down, and just keep the process going. We now have the option in our turn, like if there's nothing better to do, you just tick up Caretaker's Talent to the 3rd level, getting the buff. But I think it's just, now this turn it would be Sorin, hold up the removal, right? Soren could get us the hero, which would get us counters, and I think we're just in great shape on that playtest too. Again, provided we don't see the board wipes and things like that happening. But again, I don't think we're in that bad of a shape. Even if one did happen, I think we'd be able to rebuild. Here for playtest number 3, and this is a really interesting one. 2-lander with the Soul Ring again. We see the Talisman, so we're pretty much, I believe we're going turn... This would unfortunately be a turn 2 Graha because I can't get this in untapped. I would basically need an untapped either of these colors for that. But let's see what happens. So, but I like this. Authority of the Consuls is great. Force our opponents things coming in. We get to gain some life. Wings of Gold, is going to start growing our things. Felwar Stone would do it. So if think about this, if any of our opponents are playing any of our colors except white, Felwar Stone is enough to do it, right? Because turn 1 would be Soul Ring into Talisman. Turn 2 would be the Marsh, right? Soul Ring into the Felwar, and then Graha, right? So now we got a turn 2 Graha. We got lots of mana down, getting the process started. Turn 3, play the Authority. I'm not going to do it on that. I will do it on the Wings, though. Right. So now, right, all of our tokens have +1/+1 in flying. This is going to have our opponent's things start coming in tapped. Would have a mana left to hold up for Path, I do believe. Come back to our turn. We could, for the Emperor, just to get another hero, but that seems kind of odd. Again, all we have is like a one-sided board wipe, removal, and protection, right? So this is kind of one of the odd ones where kind of would love some ways to draw some cards, but I think maybe I would just probably Emperor for the hero here. Again, be able to gain us a ton of life off of the Graha and other hero being able to attack, right, with +2/+2 in lifelink. And then just hope, right, we continue to draw into some better stuff. Well, Caretaker's Talent helps, especially since we can get the hero off of it, which is really nice, right? But I don't think we even mind going up to level 2 here immediately. Making a copy of a hero just to draw, right? That hero doesn't come with any counters, but I don't think we really care, because these are still in the air, right? We're still in good shape. It was 3 to bring it down. 1 to tick it up. Yeah, we don't have enough to tick it up again. But I still think we're in good shape. We've got enough mana up for the Path. We don't have enough creatures. We would have enough up for Clever if we needed to protect as well. We just have a couple of them attack. Maybe we leave Graha back just in case we need to Clever. And then I think we're just in really good shape. The next turn here, I've got more than enough mana. Lasso Core, whenever a creature comes into our choice, under our control, we gain a life, right? So that helps us gain some life back. We have the one-sided board wipe of the Dust. So we can help cast it with Convoke by tapping our creatures. It says exile all creatures except those that share a creature type with a creature that convoked it, all artifacts and all enchantments. So unfortunately, we're going to end up losing all of our pieces, but it would be a board wipe if need be. I like the Alas. And I'm kind of thinking just tick up Caretaker's Talent, get the buff, and just go attacking, It kind of stinks where we really would have loved to have seen some more card draw this time around. But I think the important thing is we still have these guys in the air with the on wings. Now they've got that buff, so we've got some 7/7s in the air. In worst case scenario, now we're still in Clever Concealment range, and we can still Path on somebody else's turn to get another hero. Again, not as ideal as maybe the last 2 playtests, but I think it goes to show you that we still have a board presence. The question just is now, what do we do? And the nice thing is our opponent's things are coming in taps. We might have a little bit of an advantage. Worst case, we hit the nuke button with everything comes to us. We'll lose all these, but we'll keep all of our heroes and Graha, right? And I think we'll still be in good shape. But let me know, what do you think of Graha down in the comment section below? I think it's an interesting deck. I think there's some things that can be done to it as we test it, make it a better tokens deck, right? Putting that money into the doublers and things like that, I think could be really important. Same thing with probably more buffs, right? Finding some ways to get more buffs, maybe vigilance, maybe a way to make more copies of tokens, maybe, or more copies of Graha, right? That's probably the one thing I didn't think about that could make some sense. Things like Spark Double or Sakashima, if you wanted to. But let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below, and I will catch you on the next one.